Okay, I'm here today. I want to go over the topic of negotiating. And it's something that often gets overlooked. A lot of people don't realize how important it is in the process of buying or selling your home. And the skill or the art of negotiating is not something that you can learn overnight, which makes a big difference if you're dealing with an agent that's been in the business for a long time. They've got more experience, they've seen more, and they've had to deal with more people, emotions, and working through. So, because negotiation isn't always about just getting the best price, it's sometimes working into terms, it's sometimes just getting people to an agreement. And a lot of agents always feel that if they're doing a good job for their client, that they need to get them the best deal. And that's just not the case. But when it comes to negotiating, I'm gonna say it really starts, you need to know who you're dealing with. Number one, who the sellers are, if you can get information on that, who the buyers are, who the agents are. And the way that you write or present an offer will be different depending on who's on the other side. So don't rush an old person to make decisions quickly, and don't put conditions in there that they're not going to understand. That's just an example. Younger people, you can write it differently. Same thing with deposits. Older people like to see good, healthy deposits. They want the deposit sooner than later. Just a couple of details there. One little tip, if you're out looking at houses and you just want to get a little more intel into the seller situation, is maybe go take a look in the primary bedroom closet. See whose clothes are in there, right? Sometimes there's two people on title, but there's only one set of clothes in the closet. You can ask some questions, see what you're dealing with. Who's making the decision, right? So just little things like that.
Should we always start with a lowball offer to leave room for movement, or does that just insult the seller and kill the deal?
Yeah, so where you start on your offer price, it really depends. If you're on the buyer side and the house is overpriced and you feel the need that you want that seller to come down to a more reasonable price, then you're probably going to start lower than the seller is going to be happy with. And sometimes you just need to hit them low and see where it goes. But that is not always the best strategy. If you have a house that's priced well and it's just come on the market, starting too low is going to lose time, and in a lot of cases you're going to lose the deal and you're going to turn that seller off on the other side. So you have to be careful. Again, you need to know who you're dealing with, what their situation is, and know everything, because value is value. If you take a house that's worth $800,000 that's listed for $850, is a different strategy. Yeah, maybe you need to start at $750 to get them down to that $800 number. And maybe it's been on the market for 3 weeks, so it's a different strategy. But if you've got an $800,000 house that's priced at $779 and you're the first one to see it, yeah, don't mess around and put in a low offer. Give them their price, or else you're going to be in multiples. Maybe you're going to have to pay more. So yeah, you need to know your strategy based on your situation.
When the price is stuck, what other cards can we play to get the deal across the finish line?
Yeah, well, and this is, a lot of people focus on the price, but price isn't always what we're dealing with. Sometimes it's terms. So if you come to a stalemate with price, sometimes you just come to a stalemate. You got a buyer that doesn't want to pay more, or a seller doesn't want to take less. And that's where a lot of times a good agent or an experienced agent will be able to come in and advise, because that agent that's representing the seller maybe needs to talk to the seller and say, hey, look, this is a legitimate offer. This is something good. I know it's a little bit less than you were hoping for, but is moving forward worth accepting this price, maybe taking a bit less? And the same thing on the buy side. Like, if the buyer really wants to buy the house and it really is a good fit, whether they pay $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 more today for that house, 5-10 years from now, they're just going to remember all the memories of that house and that it was a perfect fit, rather than that they got a deal or that they didn't get the house that they wanted. So that, I think, is really important to understand, that it's okay to pay more. And over time, this is what a lot of people forget, is that at any point in time, the odds are that you're paying more than anybody else has paid for that house because of inflation. And so it's okay. That's just history. Like, we can't compare that a house was worth $80,000 in 1980 and today it's $800,000, right? Because nobody would do anything. So it's okay to pay more. And if you talk to your grandpa that paid $80,000 for the house in 1980, he's going to think you're paying way too much. Well, value is relative to the point in time that we're working with. So keep that in mind.
How do you handle those awkward silences during a counteroffer? Who should speak first?
Well, there is this adage in negotiation that is, he who speaks first loses. So sometimes you just have to wait and sit in silence. And I experienced that early on in my career, dealing with, and there's a couple of local agents, both of them actually no longer in the business here. I'm assuming that that was their tactic. So new to the business, I write an offer, present it, agent acknowledges that they got the offer, and then just goes silent. And so calling, leaving messages, they're not calling back. Then the buyer gets a little bit impatient and saying, well, I guess our offer must have been too low. Maybe we should offer higher. So even before getting a counter offer from the other side, it's like, well, yeah, that is an option. We could do that. So yeah, buyer increases their offer, sends it over. Now guess what? All of a sudden, you get a call back from the agent on the other side and they're willing to deal. And it is, so absolutely, that is a tactic, but you need to know the context and the timing, because using that kind of a strategy can work against you in a high-paced, fast market.
How do you negotiate with someone who is emotionally attached to their home and thinks it's worth more than the data suggests?
So this is another, you can't motivate a person if they don't have the motivation themselves to move on or make a change. So there are sellers that will have their homes for sale and they know they need to move, but they're just not ready to do it. And again, I think that comes down to an experienced agent will know how to help that person move forward. And one of the best things that you can do in that situation is give that seller, that person, something to look forward to. If they know where they're going, or if what they're moving towards next is a benefit and a positive, they're going to be much more open to moving forward, accepting an offer, because they know where they're going. So part of the negotiating in that case is reviewing, okay, let's talk again. So why did we put your house for sale? Where are you going next? What problem is this going to solve? And just reviewing those terms, and that can go a long ways to helping someone that feels stuck being able to move forward. And just to say that it's okay, it's natural to have those feelings, but here's the reality of the situation. We've got somebody here that wants to buy. This is a solution to your problem. Let's look at the benefits. And sometimes it just doesn't work. But at the same time, without having those conversations with a seller and helping them understand that it is okay to move forward, and maybe telling them a story about somebody else that was in a similar situation and this is how it worked out. Or sometimes you need to get somebody from the outside, a family member, to come in and just be a part of it, to help provide some support in making those hard decisions.
What's your move when the other side uses high pressure tactics or take it or leave it ultimatums?
So high pressure tactics and take it or leave it, that sometimes work in your favor, sometimes it just backfires. So there's a risk to that. And I find that most people are more comfortable with the give and take. If they feel like the other side is playing ball with them, it's like, well, they came up a little, so we'll come down a little, we'll meet in the middle. That is typically an easier strategy to put a deal together than here's our best offer, take it or leave it, we're going to walk. And those work if you're dealing with the right personality style. If you have a seller that's a type A personality, a driver, and they know what they want, make a quick decision, fine. But most people aren't like that. So I think in general, the high pressure, quick decisions, short time frames are only going to work in a small percentage of offer negotiations. Yeah, so the biggest thing is know who you're dealing with. If you have any questions, you want to talk strategy, I'm always open to that. I love this stuff. And there's a lot of situations I've been involved in that I've learned from. And thanks again for watching.